yeah, yeah, yeah. Ah, brilliant.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to TRF Tuesday, 30 Mind Body Minutes. This is the Trauma Research Foundation's weekly mini workshop series from bright and diverse voices in integrative mind-body practice. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. It tells them the content is valuable and they'll show it to more people. The following session is not a substitute for, nor does it replace professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any concerns or questions about your health, please always consult your physician. We're so happy to have you at Burnout Prevention, Somatic Practice for Tired Healers. This is session 3 of 5, entitled Shame and Care. It's my great pleasure to introduce you to our presenter. Bridget McCarthy, she, they, is a creative multi-hyphenate at the intersection of mental health and the performing arts. Her primary role is mental health coordinator for theater, TV, and film, working alongside organizations and producers of all sizes to bring trauma-aware, resilience-focused tools into their most challenging conversations. Proud to call Atlanta home, Bridget is committed to supporting humans worldwide to engage with their most creative, authentic selves with humor, compassion, and courage. Bridget, we are so happy to have you here. Thank you, and take it away.
Ah, such a joy to be here, y'all. Thank you so much for having me. The first thing I'm going to invite you to do is just take a breath and a stretch and actually arrive here. I don't know about you, but my mind is still in 7 other places. So I'm going to acknowledge that without shame or, you hear that? I'm going to acknowledge that without judgment and just notice that my mind wants to be in other places, giving my neck a little weight here to stretch. I'm going to say for the first minute or so, I'm just going to give us a moment to stretch how your body wants to stretch. And the invitation here is that many of us already have like stretching routines that we do. And the invitation is to resist that and just to move how your body wants to move. What is nice? What feels good? What is pleasurable? Just taking a moment. Making sure you're breathing. Reminding myself as well. Oh. Very nice. Very nice. Team, today we're going to be talking about shame and care. And, it's like, yay, the party started. Shame and care are two experiences that it's really important to me as a practitioner, as a clinician, to uplift as almost as two sides of the same coin. So I think that for a lot of us as care workers, as clinicians, as caregivers, whatever that means to you, we specialize in care. We know how to show up for people. We know how to meet them where they are. And if care is the act of ultimate connection and shame is the act of ultimate disconnection, then it makes a lot of sense that those two things are very difficult to hold for some of us as healers and as people. So today the invitation is to get curious about your experience of shame. This is not a place where we're doing like shame healing work. I highly recommend you do that on your own time or with a professional or with a loved one or a faith leader. This is not the place for that. I can't do that for you in 25 minutes. Wouldn't it be nice if I could? Oh my gosh, I would make so much money if I knew how to heal shame in 25 minutes. But today we're just going to get curious about where that's living in our bodies today, and inject some care and compassion into that work. So to start us off, now that I've talked for a little bit, I'm curious in the chat if you want to make yourself known. When I say shame, what do you think of? When I say shame, what do you think of? Bad. Yeah, bad. Ugh. Sense of disgust, hiding, collapse, beautiful, regret. Embarrassing. Yeah. Inner judgment, no self-worth. Beautiful. Hiding, keeping oneself small, blushing, not enough. Being human, missed it in quotes. Yeah. And even as you're thinking about that, I'm curious if there are any sensations that are coming up in the body. I'm noticing that my stomach is getting getting tighter, even as I'm reading those comments. Trying to own something that isn't mine, emotional already. Yeah, be kind to yourself, friends. We're gonna titrate this. We're gonna take this in little chunks. So don't take too much on at once. Just breathe. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Powerless. Excellent. Fatigue. Yeah. So friends, shame in and of itself can be a really activating experience for lots of us. Because we as human beings scan for belonging first. Shame is one of those things, like I said, it's an ultimate disconnector. And so when we're faced with that, the body sometimes goes, oh my goodness, and that nice screaming almond amygdala goes, ah, big danger, big trouble. So it's very normal if the body responds to being in that shame space with that like fight, flight, freeze, fix, fawn response. So feel free to take a moment and breathe, reminding my body that it is safe. And remembering last week, we talked about responsive self-care with tips, time and space, intense exercise, paced breath, and sensation changes. So taking a moment to say, okay, if I start to get overwhelmed in our work today, what am I going to do? What's my plan? If I start to get overwhelmed, I'm going to use the intense exercise, and maybe do a couple of wall push-ups. But you can either put it in the chat, you can just say it aloud to yourself, but what is your overwhelmed plan today? If you need a little bit of self-care in the session. Okay, long out breath, lovely, lovely. Yeah, beautiful. Get up and walk, lovely. All right, so yeah, shame can be a really intense emotion for lots of folks. And today, you know, where I really do believe in that feel it to heal it mentality of like emotions are not something, they're not a cave that we can go in and explore and then understand, then we get to come out like they're a tunnel that we have to go all the way through. And today is not the space for deep shame work. We're going to be talking about little bites of it. We're going to titrate it, going into little small pieces. So again, being aware of the types of exercise, the style of exercise that you're doing, and making sure to take care of yourself. Okay, so we're gonna work in two ways today on getting curious about our shame voices. Some people might call this their inner critic. Some people call it their shame gremlin. Some people call it the tape, like the tape that comes again over and over again in the brain. I think about it as I think about it as my inner critic, but that's not language that speaks to everybody. But we're going to work in two ways to get curious about what this inner critic has to say today. And we're going to work in two ways to bring care and compassion to the inner critic. So yeah, we're going to start with kind of a top down. But first, I want to take us through a little bit of grounding, because it sounds like there even was a little overwhelm just as we were talking about shame. So go ahead and take a moment and just bring your awareness to your seat and the way that you're sitting or standing or lying down. And just ask your body what needs to shift. How can I sit so I'm just a little bit more comfortable? Does it mean letting my belly hang out a little bit more than I want it to? Does it mean softening my face? Making sure I'm not wearing a social mask for other people's benefit? Might it mean unclenching my jaw? It sure does. When you're ready, the invitation is going to be to send your awareness. I've been calling it the little surfer for the last couple of weeks. Little surfer of awareness down to your lower body and your glutes and your thighs and your calves and your feet, and giving them a nice good amount of tension on your breath without going to the point of pain, but squeezing, sending strength And then when you're ready, you can release that, noticing how nice it feels to let that go. Maybe you spend a couple breaths here, just noticing the tingling or the release, whatever you're feeling down there. And on the next breath, we're going to come to the upper body, and that's my torso and my chest and my neck and my hands and my arms. And on my next breath in, I'm going to squeeze, not to the point of pain and not holding my breath, but just giving lots of strength to those areas of my body. And when I am ready, I'm going to release it. Noticing how nice that feels. Lovely. And looking around the room, I'm going to try to find the thing in my room that is the most beautiful, whatever that means to me. And you bet I'm going to ask you what they are. So get ready and put it in the chat because I love to hear this. But what is the thing in your space that is the most beautiful to you? Go ahead and pop that in the chat when you're ready. Thing that is the most beautiful. A fern. Oh, I love to hear that. A tree, the cat, flowers, maple leaves out the window. Yeah. A Murphy bed, art, my dog. Cross, beautiful, lovely. Okay. Sound of the fountain, beautiful. All right, team. So now that we're grounded, the xylophone, the sound of the fountain, love that. Now that we're grounded, I want to talk first in this like top down, this head to body way. So first we're going to do some work on thoughts, and then we're going to do some body work. So top down, we're going to talk about the inner critic. And the invitation is, as you're breathing, to get curious about the message of your inner critic today. What is the message of my inner critic today? Some common ones include, I'm not doing enough. I'm not good at this. I'll never be good at this. Again, these are involuntary thoughts. They might loop, they might cycle. Some of them are meaner than others. If I heard my friend talking about themselves that way, I would be really sad. Or if I said them, they might sound really mean. But in the chat, you're welcome to share a core thought that you have today. It's for today. I see I'm not prepared. I'm not ready. I'm a failure. I'm too much. They don't like you anymore. I'm not enough. Yeah. Ooh, I'm gonna let out some sound and breath on that one. These are spicy. Yeah. I don't fit. I will not succeed. I had just known earlier. Yeah. Beautiful, y'all. Yeah. I'm misunderstood. Yeah, I don't belong. Shame can be really hard for us as healers or care workers too, because there's so much like logicking that we do around it. Maybe I know I shouldn't feel this way. That should, right? I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I feel this way anyway. That disconnect between mind and body of feeling it anyway. I'm broken. Beautiful. Okay. So sitting again, just in an intellectual way, if not a totally embodied way, sitting with that core thought, just sending your body some breath. And the first question that we're going to ask is about that core thought, the question of whose voice is it? Now, sometimes it's mine. Sometimes I ask my clients that question. They're like, well, it's my voice. I'm telling myself this. I'm like, great. Other times it's a client that says, oh, that sounds a lot like so-and-so's voice. Often an influential figure from childhood. Sometimes it sounds like, oh, that's my internalized capitalism, or that's my internalized white supremacy. But just sending some compassion to that core thought for a moment and breathing and asking the question, whose voice is that? What does that voice sound like that says you are anything less than sufficient and lovable? If you would like to make yourself known in the chat by identifying whose voice that is, you can. I will not read them out loud for privacy, but they will be seen in the Zoom chat here. But you're welcome to share it, whose voice that is. I see you. Yeah, I see the shares. I'll share my own today. My own today is I'm not doing enough. And I will tell you that is my internalized dominant culture. That's my internalized white supremacy, capitalism. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. Okay. So give yourself a nice breath, a nice breath. If it helps to look around and go back to that beautiful thing and notice one other detail about that beautiful thing that you might not have noticed before, or maybe just looking at it as if you're about to paint it, noticing a detail. The next part of this thought is separating the self from the core thought. It can be really tempting to say, I am not enough. The invitation here, my friends, is to reframe that and verbalize out loud, I have the thought that, and then name the core belief, the core thought, the inner critic. I have the thought that I'm not doing enough. I have the thought that I'm unlovable. I have the thought that I'm not ready. I have the thought that I'm not prepared. So notice what that's like for you to say, I have the thought that. And as you slow it down, I have the thought that, and saying your core belief, between the verbalization and the feeling, there is an opportunity to create something new. So for example, if I say I have the thought that I am not enough, and then I notice that my shoulders get tense, or I have the thought that I am not enough, and I notice that my belly starts to rumble, I have the choice to take a moment and breathe, and I can get creative, and I can say, what is the thought that I would like to have if I were feeling my most vibrant self, or what is the opposite thought? So if I say I have the thought that I am not enough, I might take a breath and then verbalize, I have the thought that I am fully sufficient. So we're going to cycle through that a couple of times with your inner critic's thought, I have the thought that, a breath, and then your response thought, I have the thought that. So go ahead and cycle through that 3 times. Breathing deeply and noticing your body. I have the thought that I am not doing enough. I have the thought that I'm doing plenty. I have the thought that I'm not doing enough. I have the thought that there are only 24 hours in a day. And in the chat, if you'd like to make yourself known, you are more than welcome. I invite you to put in here what sensations you're noticing as you're verbalizing the opposite thought of your inner critic. What sensations are you noticing? Expansion in the chest, peace and joy. Settling tummy, chest opening. Yeah, yeah. I'm noticing a more radiating in my chest. Yeah, more space inside. Lovely, lovely. Okay. So we're gonna work, we're gonna do one more little exercise here. Thank you so much, y'all. And we're gonna work from a bottom-up point of view here. And we're gonna do some more physicalizing to try to frame our thoughts differently. So the invitation here, I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but what does your body do when it experiences shame? What are the sensations associated with that? Contraction. Yeah, there might be a head drop. There might be a pull in. There's like head lowered. Sure, there's like a pull in of resources into the core. Yeah, y'all, shame is a protective state. Shame is a protective state. It protects us from connecting with others. When we're in that activated or fight flight mode, shame is a tool that can help us disconnect from danger. So it is not morally bad. It's just not always useful. So yeah, going into that protective state. So the invitation here and I'm gonna talk through it before before y'all do it. The invitation here is to feel in your body and get curious about that shame shape, and only go into this like 5 to 10%. Yeah, we're not like doing an acting exercise where we're bringing shame into our whole being. Don't do that. It's too spicy, too spicy. So just breathing in a little bit and taking on that shame shape. And maybe here I say the core thought out loud. I am not doing enough. And then with a breath, I'm going to move into the opposite posture and voice, I'm doing plenty. We're going to cycle through that just a couple of times. I'm not doing enough. I am doing plenty. I'm not doing enough. I'm doing plenty. And then taking the words away, taking on the shame posture, then opening up 5% more. And on a breath, shame posture. And on the next breath in, opening up 5% more. Opening the eyes, really letting out the breath, shame posture. And then the next exhale, opening up, whatever that is. And this next one, we're going to be opening up all the way, shame posture. And really coming out to that full expansion. And on voice, if you want, you can say your opposite thought, your vibrant self thought. For me, it is, I am doing plenty. I'm going to make some noise here, and you can too if you want. Oof. And when you're ready, you can let that go. Breathing into your own sufficiency. Knowing that you are sacred. Knowing that you are worthy of the care that you provide to others. Breathing into that knowing. The last thing we're going to do, friends, before we let go, is we're going to offer a little bit of self-compassion. So allowing the sense to come inward. I'm going to drop my head. This is just an invitation to myself to come inward. You don't have to do that. But I'm going to notice where I might still be holding some of that shame or some of that sadness or grief. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and put a hand over it. Put a hand over it, and I'm going to just play with it for a second. I'm going to move toward it. I'm going to move away from it. I'm experiencing tightness. I am not tight. I am experiencing tightness in my chest. Moving it around. Moving it around, giving it some love. And I'm going to come back to the space in my body that holds my resources, my resilience, my vibrance. Breathing in my own vibrance, whatever that is, and noticing where that lives in my body. And I'm going to take a little piece of it, and I'm going to apply it like salve to the place that's holding pain. Giving some of that care. Breathing in compassion, my own sacredness. And then when you're ready, you can let that go. I'm going to invite you to stand up and wiggle and return yourself to your space, whatever that means to you. And in the chat, if you want to share your creative, vibrant, positive thought that responds to your inner critic, you can. You are welcome to share that here. Whatever that thought was, the response thought that you want to share and have it be made known. So go ahead and roll those into the chat when you're ready. Friends, as we are letting go for today, I want to remind you of the 2 tools we worked on, and you can use these wherever you want. It's the amazing things about bodies. Bodies go with us. You can work from top down, and you can say, what is the thought and who does that thought sound like? You can invite yourself to breath, saying the thing out loud and then creating a response. And then on the opposite side, you can actually assume the posture, and you can assume the posture of the opposite thought. These are tools that you can take with you and experiment with. I wanna take a moment and notice what's going on in the chat because it's really cool. We have phrases like "I am good." Well, I'm going to breathe these in. I am alive and free to be myself. I am an overcomer. I will succeed if I keep going. This is the perfect time. I'm great at what I do. Beautiful. Y'all, one more time, we're going to take that message, whatever it was for you, and put it between your hands. Give it a little bit of warmth. Might blow on it. Some breath. And when you're ready, you can take that message to your heart center. Breathing it in. Knowing that you are worthy of the love, the care, compassion, space, sufficiency that you provide to so many other people. And with that, that is our day. Mary, I'm going to hand it back to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Bridget. That was wonderful. I loved opening up into the positive posture. And I want to note that Tyson in the chat mentioned that the more he repeated that attribute in his mind, the more positive it became.
Yeah.
I would echo that. That's great. If anyone has any comments they'd like to drop in the chat before we end and say goodbye, we'd love to hear from you.
Also questions. Questions are good.
Yeah, questions are great too.
I always love doing these sessions because I feel like they're more for me than for anybody else because I always feel so glowy afterward. Thank you for being here, friends. Thank you. Thank you.
Solar powered.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's wonderful.
Thanks, y'all.
Oh, Bridget, this was another great session. Thank you so much for being here today. We look forward to session 4 when the topic is caretaking and caregiving, a somatic guide. Thank you, audience. TRF Tuesday strives to offer you a variety of body-based approaches that assist in a trauma healing journey, and we're so happy you're here. You'll find all the past sessions on the TRF website under the Resources tab. Just click on TRF Tuesday Library. Working behind the scenes are TRF team members, Pat Murray, Star Muhammad, and Connor McCann. I'm Mary Frangie. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye.